Each morning a missionary advertised with neon sign. He tells the native population that civilization is fine. And three educated savages holler from a bamboo tree that civilization is a thing for
Hello, I'm Alex, producer for the Ground Zero Show with Clyde Lewis. I'll be commentating this video, giving you the most up-to-date information known about the topic tonight. As I explain what's going on, images will appear within the video showing you what I'm talking about. Tonight's topic was War of the Worlds, or Attack of the One-Hit Alien Wonders. Music, basically, my forte. I love music. I love everything about music. In high school, I actually played I was in marching bands. Really one of those things that I'm really into. Anyways, so tonight's topic was Attack of the One-Hit Wonders. And it was 77 years ago today that Orson Welles and his troupe of radio actors decided to play a prank on the CBS radio audience. They faked an alien invasion on the air. It wasn't really faking an invasion in a technical sense, it was merely a 62-minute radio dramatization of the War of the Worlds. And at the time, Welles and the other radio actors decided to create a normal broadcast that was interrupted by the announcement that something strange was happening on planet Mars. Anomalies, gas jet plumes, and lights were allegedly shooting out of the planet, and later as the program plodded along, there was an interruption of the so-called regularly scheduled programming, announcing there was a crash of an unknown aircraft somewhere in the vicinity of Grover's Mill, New Jersey. The radio play started gaining momentum as the troops seized on the opportunity to have on-the-spot live reports from Grover's Mill. Of course, all of this was done in the CBS studios, and Foley experts were working feverishly to produce sounds of the door on the alleged crashed spacecraft and the octopod-looking creature crawling out and dispensing the crowd with a death ray. To be true, this part of the show was probably the only part the audience heard. On the evening of October 30th, 1938, most people tuning into radio were in fact listening to the highly popular Chase and Sanborn Hour, a comedy variety show hosted by the ventriloquist Edgar Bergen, which was airing at the same time. War of the Worlds on competing radio station NBC. One of the guest stars was Rudy Vallee. It is believed that many people at that time turned from NBC and were just catching the report of the invasion. This probably explains why no one heard the disclaimers that it was a dramatization. It was estimated, however, that a sample ratings inquiry indicated that nearly 5,000 people tuned in to hear the fake invasion on the radio. It was also interesting to note that many people surveyed said the alien story was not the chief reason they were frightened. Many of those that listened cited the part of the broadcast where the fake reporter stated, "This is the end now. Black smoke is drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running for the East River, thousands of them dropping like rats." They were all convinced that this was an attack carried out by the Nazis. Hitler even commented about the scare, stating that the panic was evidence of a decadence and corrupt condition of democracy. Newspapers overreacted, typing out headlines that were over the top. And I'll show you it right here on the screen. Throughout our history, we have many songs that could relate to flying saucers. The songs that were played on Ground Zero tonight were When You See Those Flying Saucers by the Buchanan Brothers, Bye Baby by Rocket, Flying Saucer Boogie by Eddie Kletro, Purple People Eater by Sheb Woolley, Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft by the Carpenters, Down in the Park by Gary Newman, I Ran by A Flock of Seagulls, Hangar 18 by Megadeth, Aliens Exist by Blink-182, E.T. by Katy Perry and Kanye West. Many of these songs are sought to believe that everyone had an incident with an interplanetary traveler or was close enough to see one. Some of the callers tonight were very interesting. One of my favorites is a man named Earl from Oregon. So let me bring that call right up right now.
Let's go to Earl in Oregon. Hi, Earl. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Am I on the radio?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Flying saucers are not interested in atomic bombs. They're the ones that gave the United States the atomic bomb.
Oh, you think the aliens gave us the bomb?
Yes.
I'm thinking the aliens gave the Germans the bomb, and the German scientists brought the bomb with them.
No, they gave the United States bomb, and how they did it is they use a 2-foot flying saucer and they park it over the person's house at nighttime to program it into his mind while he's asleep.
Now, where did you get this? Where'd you get this from? Is this a history that I don't know about?
Yes, but you don't hardly know anything about UFOs.
Yeah, I don't know anything. Okay, well, educate me about UFOs, Earl. So what happened? They parked a UFO over a scientist's house? Is that what happened?
Yes, the ones that's what happened, and they used a 2-foot flying saucer for that. They have flying saucers down to 10 inches too.
They had 10.
They have also vacation ships that are several miles long.
Okay, and. So, have you ever had a UFO park over your house and try to give you information?
Oh, I've been in contact with UFOs practically all my life.
You have?
Yes.
Okay, now, how have you been in contact with UFOs? How do you get in contact with them? Do you call them out, or do they show up?
No, I can't call them out, and you don't have to try to contact them. If they want to contact you, they'll call you up on your cell phone. This is the baby planet.
Are you for real? Or are you just pulling my leg? Yes. You're for real.
No,
They'll call you on your cell phone. They will phone you up and say, Earl, we're the UFO people, and we want to give you knowledge. They do that?
No, it doesn't work that way.
Oh.
I said if you're trying to contact them. If they want to contact you, they just call you up on the cell phone.
Well,
you're talking to people that are millions of years into the future.
But, okay, Earl, here's the deal. Why would they call you when they can just text you? And why would they need phones if they can park something over your house and beam the information to your head? I think that'd be cheaper, wouldn't it?
Well, naturally.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to figure that out. I have to figure that stuff out because, I don't know anything about UFOs. I know nothing about UFOs. So don't listen to me if I tell you anything about UFOs because I don't know anything. Maybe I should have one park over my house and then feed me the information, like Earl. Okay, Halloween's kicking off just right, guys. You too can sell to this great demographic. Right here. I'm Clyde Lewis, and you're listening to our tribute of the War of the Worlds. And we'll be back we'll be back.
Since we're speaking about music, I'm going to bring up a musician that I learned of when I was in high school. My band teacher, Severance, told a story about this man named Sun Ra. He was both an American jazz performer, a band leader, he played piano, and he was a poet and philosopher. He was known for his cosmic philosophy and prolific musical output. He had unconventional performances, and he was inducted into the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame in 1979. He was controversial because of eclectic music and unorthodox lifestyle, and claiming that he was of the angel race and not from Earth but from Saturn. Sun Ra developed a complex persona using cosmic philosophies and lyrical poetry that made him a pioneer of Afrofuturism. He preached awareness, peace above all. He abandoned his birth name and took on the name and persona of Sun Ra, Ra being the Egyptian god of the sun. And he used several other names throughout his career, including Lee Sonra and Sunny Lee. Sun Ra denied any connection with his birth name, saying that that's an imaginary person, never existed. Any name that I use other than Ra is a pseudonym. From the mid-1950s to his death, Sun Ra led the orchestra, an ensemble with an ever-changing name and flexible lineup. Although certain core members remained with the group through its various incarnations, Marshall Allen, John Gilmore, June Tyson, and others, which they're all amazing artists, it was by turns called the Solar Myth Orchestra, his Cosmo Discipline Orchestra, the Blue Universe Orchestra, Myth Science Orchestra, the Jet Set Omniverse Orchestra, and many other variations. Sun Ra asserted that the ever-changing name of his ensemble reflected the ever-changing nature of his music. His mainstream success was limited, but Sun Ra was a prolific recording artist and frequent live performer. His music ranged from keyboard solos to big bands of over 30 musicians and touched on virtually the entire history of jazz, from ragtime to swing music, bebop to free jazz. He also used free improvisation and was one of the early musicians to make extensive use on electronic keyboard. In his teenage years, he demonstrated prodigious musical talent many times. According to his acquaintances, he went to big band performances and then produced full transcriptions of the band's songs from memory. By his mid-teens, he was performing semi-professionally as a solo pianist, or as a member of various ad hoc jazz and R&B groups. He attended Birmingham's segregated industrial high school, now known as Parker High School, where he studied under his music teacher John T. Fess Watley, a demanding disciplinarian who was widely respected and whose classes produced many professional musicians. Though deeply religious, his family was not formally associated with any Christian church or sect. He had a few or almost no close friends in high school, but what was remembered as kind-natured and quiet, an honor roll student, and a voracious reader. He took advantage of the Black Masonic Lodge as one of the few places in Birmingham where African Americans had unlimited access to books. Its collection on Freemasonry and other esoteric concepts made a strong impression on him. By his teens, he suffered from cryptorchidism, a chronic testicular hernia. It left him with a nearly constant discomfort that sometimes flared into severe pain. His doctor suggests that he felt shame about it, and the condition contributed to his isolation. As he traveled the world and told of his experiences, there was one experience that never left the pages. It was his trip to Saturn. Finances and his increasing sense of isolation are believed to have been factors in Sun Ra's leaving college. Perhaps more importantly, he claimed he had a visionary experience as a college student that had a major long-term influence on him. In 1936, in the midst of the deep religious concentration, Sun Ra claimed that a bright light appeared to him. And as he later said, "My whole body changed into something else. I could see through myself, and I went up. I wasn't in human form. I landed on a planet that I identified as Saturn. They teleported me, and I was down on the stage with them. They wanted to talk with me. They had one little antenna on each ear, a little antenna over each eye, but they talked to me. They told me to stop attending college because there was going to be great trouble in schools. The world was going into complete chaos. I would speak through music, and the world would listen." And that's exactly what they told me. Sun Ra said that his experience occurred in 1936. According to Sved, the musician's closest associates cannot date the story any earlier than 1952. Sun Ra also said that the incident happened when he was living in Chicago, where he did not settle until the late 1940s. Sun Ra discussed the vision with no substantive variation. To the end of his life, his trip to Saturn allegedly occurred a full decade before flying saucers entered the public consciousness. With the 1947 encounter of Kenneth Arnold, it was earlier than other public accounts. About 15 years before George Adamski wrote about contact with benevolent beings, and almost 20 years before the 1961 case of Barney and Betty Hill, who recounted sinister UFO abductions. Swed says that even if this story is revisionist autobiography, Sonny was pulling together several strands of his life. He was both prophesizing his future and explaining his past with a single act of personal mythology. For his music, he had a group, an ensemble named the Orchestra. Following Sun Ra's death, the orchestra was led by a tenor saxophonist named John Gilmore. Following Gilmore's death in 1995, the group has performed under the direction of alto saxophonist Marshall Allen. A 1999 album led by Allen, Song for the Sun, featured Jimmy Hops and Dick Griffin. In the summer of 2004, the orchestra became the first American jazz band to perform in Tuva, in southern Siberia, where they played 5 sets at the Ustu Hori Festival. As of May 2008, the orchestra continues to tour and perform. In September 2008, they played for 7 days in a row, ZXZW Festival, each day, emphasizing different aspects of the musical legacy of Sun Ra. In 2009, they performed at Philadelphia's Institute of Contemporary Art, in conjunction with an exhibition that explored the intersection of orchestras performing legacy and the practice of contemporary art. More recently, they ventured to Australia for the first time for the 2011 Melbourne International Jazz Festival in Mona Museum of Old and New Art in Tasmania. For Sun Ra's music, he had a piano technique, and it touched on many styles. His youthful fascination with the boogie-woogie, stride piano and blues, and sometimes refined touch on reminiscent of Count Basie or Ahmed Jamal, beautiful jazz band artists, and in angular phrases in the style of Thelonious Monk, or brutal percussive attacks like Cecil Taylor. Other overlooked is the range of influences from classical music. Sun Ra cited Chopin, Rachmaninoff, and Schoenberg and Shostakovich as his favorite composers for the piano. As a synthesizer and electric keyboard player, Sun Ra ranks among one of the earliest and most radical pioneers. By the mid-1950s, he used a variety of electrical keyboards, and almost immediately he exploited their potential, perhaps more than anyone, sometimes modifying them himself to produce sounds rarely ever heard before. His live albums from the late 1960s and early 1970s feature some of the noisiest, most bizarre keyboard work ever recorded. Sun Ra's music can be roughly divided into 3 phases, but his records and performances were full of surprises, and the following categories should be regarded only as approximations. So, found all. He got most of his music from Count Basie, the most famous jazz artist. Count Basie was one of my favorites. One of my favorite songs by Count Basie would have to be his Jazz and Blues piece in 1995, and the Atomic Swing in 1958. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening to the history of this great jazz musician that also believed that he was from the planet Saturn. Thank you for watching, and everybody have a good night. Listen to some jazz while you sleep. It'll put you right to bed. Some good stuff. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good night. This has been Alex Clooten for Ground Zero News. Thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And listen to the Ground Zero Show every weeknight from 7 to 10 on KXL 101.1. Check out our podcast uploaded every weeknight after the show. On SoundCloud, the link is soundcloud.com/Ground Zero Media. Thank you guys. Have a great night.